You've been told your whole life that you need more. More money, a bigger house, a nicer car, the latest gadgets, the perfect wardrobe. And to get all that, you need to work harder, longer, and climb the corporate ladder until you're making six figures. But what if you don't actually need that much? What if the amount of money you need to live a good life is way less than you've been led to believe? And what if realizing that could set you free? Today, I'm breaking down the minimalist income, how to calculate what you actually need to live well, and why chasing more is keeping you trapped. Let's start with the lie we've all been sold. You need more. No matter how much you make, it's never enough. Make $40,000? You need $60,000. Make $60,000? You need $100,000. Make $100,000? You need $150,000. It's called lifestyle creep, and it's a trap. Here's how it works. You get a raise. Great. More money. But instead of saving it or working less, you upgrade your apartment. Buy a nicer car. Start eating out more. Subscribe to more services. Buy more stuff. And suddenly, even though you're making more money, you're still living paycheck to paycheck. Why? Because your expenses grew to match your income. And now you're stuck. You can't take a pay cut. You can't quit. You can't take risks. You're trapped by the lifestyle you've built. This is the more trap, and it's designed to keep you working forever. So what's the alternative? The minimalist income. It's simple. Figure out the minimum amount of money you need to live a good life, and then design your work around that number, not the other way around. Notice I said live a good life, not survive. This isn't about living in a van eating ramen. It's about cutting out the excess and focusing on what actually matters. Because most of what we spend money on doesn't make us happier. The bigger house is more to clean, more to maintain, and more stress. The new car depreciates the second you drive it off the lot. The designer clothes are worn a few times and forgotten. But we keep buying because we've been conditioned to believe that more stuff equals more happiness. It doesn't. Once your basic needs are met, housing, food, healthcare, safety, additional money has diminishing returns on happiness. So instead of chasing more, the minimalist income asks the question, what's enough? Let's get practical. Here's how to figure out what you actually need. Step 1. Track your current spending. For 1 month, track every single dollar you spend. Use an app like Mint, Enab, or just a simple spreadsheet. Categories: housing, rent or mortgage, utilities, insurance. Food, groceries, eating out. Transportation, car payment, gas, insurance, public transit. Healthcare, insurance, medications, copays. Debt payments, student loans, credit cards, etc. Subscriptions, Netflix, Spotify, gym, etc. Discretionary, shopping, entertainment, hobbies. Savings and/or investments. At the end of the month, you'll have a clear picture of where your money is going. Step 2. Separate needs from wants. Now, go through your spending and ask, is this a need or a want? Needs: shelter, food, basic clothing, healthcare, transportation, if necessary for work. Utilities. Wants: the $450 a month car payment on a brand new car when a used one would work fine. The $15 salad every day at lunch when you could meal prep. The $200 a month on subscriptions you barely use. The $500 a month shopping habit. Be honest with yourself. Most of what we spend money on falls into the want category, not need. Step 3. Cut the waste. Now, start cutting. Not everything. Just the stuff that isn't adding real value to your life. Questions to ask. Do I actually use this subscription? Could I get the same result for less money? Does this purchase make me happier, or is it just a habit? What would happen if I stopped spending on this? You'll be shocked at how much you can cut without impacting your quality of life. Examples. Cancel subscriptions you don't use, save $50 to $100 per month. Meal prep instead of eating out every day, save $200 to $400 per month. Buy used instead of new, cars, furniture, clothes, save thousands. Downsize your living space, save $300 to $800 per month. These aren't sacrifices, they're choices. And every dollar you cut is a dollar you don't have to earn. Step 4. Calculate your minimalist income number. Now, add up your essentials. Housing, food, transportation, healthcare, utilities, debt payments, small buffer for unexpected expenses. Calculate your total. Per month, multiply by 12 to get your annual number. That's your minimalist income. For some people, it's $30,000 per year. For others, it's $50,000. For others, it might be $70,000 depending on location and circumstances. But the key to figuring this out is, it's probably way less than you think. So why does knowing this number matter? Because it gives you options. Once you know you only need $40,000 a year to live well, you realize you don't need to work 60 hours a week. You don't need to chase promotions you don't want. You don't need to stay in a job that's destroying you. You can take a lower-paying job that gives you more time and flexibility. You can freelance part-time and still be fine. You can work 6 months a year and travel the other 6. You can pursue work that's meaningful, even if it doesn't pay as much. You are no longer trapped by money. And that's freedom. Let me give you some examples of what this looks like in practice. Example number 1, the part-time freelancer. Sarah was working a $70,000 corporate job she hated. She calculated her minimalist income at $35,000 a year. She quit, started freelancing 20 hours a week, and now makes $40,000 a year. She has more time, less stress, and enough money to live comfortably. Example number 2, the remote worker who moved. Jake was living in San Francisco paying $3,000 a month for a tiny apartment. He calculated his minimalist income and realized if he moved to a lower cost of living area, he could cut his expenses in half. He went remote, moved to Portugal, and now lives well on $30,000 a year while working half the hours. Example number 3, they retired at 35. Mia saved aggressively for 10 years while living on her minimalist income of $25,000 a year. She invested the rest. At 35, her investments generated enough passive income to cover her expenses. She retired and now spends her time traveling, volunteering, and working on passion projects. None of these people are rich, but they're all free because they figured out what enough looks like. Let's address the objections. Objection 1. I can't live on that little. Maybe you can't right now, but could you if you made different choices? Smaller apartment? Cheaper city? Used car instead of new? Cooking instead of eating out? Most people can live on less than they think. They just haven't tried. What about retirement? Savings? Emergencies? Good point. Your minimalist income should include a small emergency fund, 3 to 6 months of expenses, retirement contributions, even if modest, healthcare costs, because if you're living on less, you also need less saved for retirement. Objection 2. I don't want to live like I'm poor. You're not living poor. You're living intentionally. There's a huge difference between being broke and choosing simplicity. You're choosing to spend on what matters and cut what doesn't. Objection 3. What if I want nice things? Then buy them. But buy them intentionally. Save for them. Make sure they actually add value to your life. Just don't trap yourself in a cycle of working more to afford more stuff you don't actually need. Here's the shift that needs to happen. Stop measuring wealth by how much money you make. Start measuring it by how much freedom you have. True wealth is having enough money to cover your needs without stress, having time to spend with people you love, having control over your schedule, being able to say no to things that don't serve you, doing work that doesn't destroy you. You don't need $1 million for that. You just need enough. And enough is probably less than you think. You've been conditioned to believe you need more. More money, more stuff, more everything. But what if you don't? What if you calculated your minimalist income and realized you could live well on way less than you're currently making? What would that change for you? Would you still stay in the job that's killing you? Would you still work 50 hours a week? Would you still sacrifice your health, your time, and your relationships for a bigger paycheck? Or would you choose differently? The minimalist income isn't about deprivation. It's about liberation. It's about figuring out what you actually need, cutting the rest, and reclaiming your life. So do the math, calculate your number, and then ask yourself, what would I do if I knew I already had enough? If this hit home, subscribe, because we're building lives based on freedom, not consumerism. See you in the next one.